Hi, Lisa. How are you doing today?
I'm very good. How are you?
Awesome. Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. You too.
Tell me a little bit about yourself and your role here at Rapid Canvas.
Absolutely. I want to say I spent probably the last 15 years in bespoke custom engineering, going into clients with capability. They had capability gaps, and our teams would come in and fill it. So with NTT Data and ThoughtWorks, who wrote the Agile Manifesto, we were teaching organizations how to own their own tech stack for the most part. Fundamentally, we believed in a digital ecosystem, but where their core tech was touching their customers, where the data interactions were happening, we wanted customers to own that. So then they could directionally go where their customers went. So as I move into the Rapid Canvas, I'm super excited because AI is not new to Rapid Canvas, right? This is like their wheelhouse, their space. This is all they've been doing for the last 15 years. But it has that custom bespoke human side that I'm so familiar with and it's been so successful on the custom engineering side. I'm happy to take it to market and allow AI to help companies transform.
Excellent. Thank you. Enterprise systems were historically built for 5-year technology cycles, but AI models like OpenAI, Gemini, Claude, they're leaping forward at a much faster pace in months instead of years. So how does that cycle mismatch fundamentally break the way a traditional CTO or business leader thinks about their roadmap?
This is like critical to moving forward because what's happening is, what does agentic AI, agentic workflows mean? It actually means that in a very quick iteration, say 8 to 12 weeks, we can solve really messy problems around data, structured, unstructured, and start to deliver some contextual learning. So we like to say, we're not delivering code. We are onboarding your new quality assurance agent, your new financial optimization agent. And they need constant nurturing, right? So as we talk about roadmaps, there's no check. We delivered an MVP and a customer can now, purchase something. We're talking, we delivered a contextual digital worker. You're now working with digital agents. So the concept of the roadmap really dissipates because you're not allowing for the compounding learning of what agentic AI is going to move forward with.
Excellent. So that means that you really have like a teamwork kind of environment that is made up of individuals that are in, let's say, like the finance office, along with agentic AI colleagues that are really all, is that what you mean by like the contextual learning, that it's kind of symbiotic in that they're each learning from each other?
Absolutely. When you would think, like when I joined Rapid Canvas, I had a lot of humans say, here's where you find this, here's how we do this, right? They didn't treat me as, oh, we expect you from day one to be perfect, right? That expectation is not there. How we like to communicate to our clients here in this agentic workforce, which directly goes to roadmap, is don't treat your agent on the day one it goes in market after 8 to 12 weeks as an expert. Treat it as an intern. Let's talk about it as onboarding your QA assistant who's going to support you. And 6 months from now, you may want to promote it and allow it to take actionable insights that triggers another agentic workflow. And then over time, you have this almost connective tissue in your organization that is marrying agentic workflows with humans.
That's excellent. And that mirrors my experience too, because it takes us humans time to build credibility in technology. And so if we think about that agentic AI as an intern, we're investing in them and we're building credibility as because we're validating what they're doing and what they're learning so that I can have trust in them as they go to deploy workloads for me. So that's an excellent point, Lisa. In your experience working with enterprises that are serious about AI, where do leaders most often misdiagnose the problem? Is it model capability? Is it talent? Is it architectural constraints? Something else?
And this is probably why we're talking today, because I want to say it really is like the architecture that's very important. In the past, probably the last decade, it was like we absolutely have a capability gap. Technologists wanted to work with all the cool companies, right? They didn't want to go to a heritage, let's say Sears or a company that is brittle, right? They wanted to go where they could iterate fast, like Amazon and a Facebook. So that scarcity created opportunities for companies that I work for to come in and help them, right? And so as we start to think about the agentic, it's not a capability or a model, because the models are getting so smart so fast. I mean, I think 2022 to 23, we were like, OpenAI is so far ahead of everyone else. And we could debate, is it like a three-legged race between Gemini, Claude, OpenAI? With the organizations today, they don't want to have to worry about that if they are breaking down their architecture and thinking about their abstraction and orchestration layer. So it's not people and it's not the model. Because if you lock in on a model today, you'll find that you could be wrong in 6 months from now. So what we want to talk about is how to embed an adaptive architecture to make decisions and be more fluid. One of the things that Rapid Canvas does really well is we can switch components and it doesn't impact your workflow. It doesn't impact anything that your current agents are working on. And if updates need to be made, they're so simple that a lot of your talent can make those updates because the agentic code writers are that good.
Interesting. You often see early AI pilots generate a lot of excitement. And then when they get to moving into a production environment, the wheels kind of come off and the projects stall. So beyond technical debt, why does a rigid architecture make it almost impossible to scale these promising experiments? What are the non-obvious architectural or organizational friction points that surface at that exact moment?
Yeah, so there's a lot in there. I think experimentation was the word of 2025, right? Education and experimentation. And I believe 2026, we're moving to adoption, which talks about what you're talking about, scale, and how not to pause the pilot, right? Don't create pilot purgatory, so to speak. And what's happening is a couple of things in parallel. One, some of the workflows of today need to be completely transformed, right? They are built on manual exceptions to make things work from yesterday. So breaking down and taking the time to allow the opportunity to ditch some things, right? Let's not focus on edge cases. Let's focus on getting 80% of accuracy and the expected outcome, and then allow the agent and the human to say, how do we want to handle these exceptions? So a lot of the pilots, the expectation is perfection. I want an apples to apples comparison of what I see today. And oftentimes I spend hours in meetings saying that's actually your agent, the data that they're surfacing is actually the correct data. You're behind because of your manual oversight, things get missed, right? And so we want to encourage organizations to allow for some exception handling to really get the pilots off of the pause, to get them out of purgatory, to go in market, and to continue that compounding learning that I just feel is a ways of working message that we have to get really sticky with to be successful.
Excellent. Lisa, you talk with leaders who feel pressure to pick the right AI platform. So how do you help them shift from an ownership mindset to one where models and tools are being treated as interchangeable, evolving components?
Yeah, I feel like I've been part of the problem for like the last 15 years, and something shifted about 2.5 years ago. I mean, me and my teams and prior companies would absolutely say, this is the destination. This is where you want to go. Own your tech where it touches. You'll see me keep continually saying that. Own your tech where it touches your customers, because things move so fast. Things were moving fast in 2015, right? Things are moving so fast now. I think we have a little bit of a headache. We're spinning a little. So what I want to really hone in on the ownership model is that is of yesterday, where you had a destination that I want to be a homeowner, right? I don't want to rent. I don't want to lease. I don't want to travel any place other than my home. And what we're saying with AI and building an agentic workforce is you want to think about it a little bit different. You want to think about leasing. You want to think about subscription models. You want to think about partnering with a rapid canvas, so to speak, that can get you started on your AI journey at such a great pricing model that you can really evolve and grow. And at some point, if you want to own everything, that flexibility is there from a rapid canvas. We're not locking you into anything. But while you're on the journey getting there, we do all of the back-end component shifting. We do all the understanding of the market upgrades, who's the best in class today. And we do all that shifts for you so you can really focus on your workflow transformation, your operating model of the future.
Excellent. In this new orchestration layer, where models are treated as interchangeable rather than permanent investments, how do customers handle the switching cost when swapping one model for another on the fly?
And this is where I think the adaptable architecture is critical. You don't want to set yourself up of locking in on either a license or a partnership with one model. You won't be happy, right? You want to allow agnostic partners to come in who can say, based on your need, we understand all the available models, and this is the best in class today. We have every model available to us at Rapid Canvas. We don't have to say we are only going to use this model. And then we can take a portion of that larger model and bring it down to the right size and scale to meet that particular use case or workflow's demand. And then they can scale like an accordion as needed. As demand and adoption go up, we are there to support that.
If adaptability is now the baseline for competition, what should executives stop funding immediately and instead start investing in new things today if they want their architecture to keep up with the pace of AI over the next 3 years, 5 years?
Yeah. I mean, this is like a critical shift. So I think that the first North Star I would recommend for a moat strategy is pay attention to your operating model. And can your architecture absorb change, serious, significant change that generative AI is bringing us in 12 weeks' time? Can you shift that fast? And if the answer is no, then we need to start the conversations of how do you get there, right? So your new moat is going to be the ability to ingest new intelligence and to continually learn from it. Because coupled with agentic workflows, coupled with humans, the data and the patterns and the anomalies that are going to be surfaced can come real time. Like, you don't have to have a oops moment to say, I really wish we knew that information. Let's go research it. your agents may be saying, I see this happening. Do you need to order something more of? There seems to be a little trend here. Or this seems to be slowly going away. Do you need to decommission this SKU number? And I'm speaking specifically to retail, but I think it kind of points to what we're talking about with the future of where your moat is. The future of your moat is all squarely faced on your operating model being able to ingest change in 12-week increments.
So it's interesting, the operating model being able to ingest that in 12 weeks, but you've got this fairly static and rigid architecture that is well designed, perhaps. Let's give everybody the benefit of the doubt and say it's like perfectly designed. How do they make that transition? How is that, do they evolve it in their current architecture, start evolving it, or do they start establishing a adaptable architecture alongside of their rigid architecture and migrate to that adaptable architecture over time?
I love that. I mean, at ThoughtWorks, we had a thing called like the strangle approach, right? Like we don't rip and replace. It's all over time. It really is the abstraction layer, the orchestration layer that we're talking about, where the workflows and your agents are working. Keep that as flexible as possible. Don't make any long-term commitments to any type of enterprise. We can do this today that may not be able to support you tomorrow. So you're constantly having the best of class at that abstraction layer. And then slowly you will see the patterns of where friction happens, right? Is it in the data warehouse? Like where is it with the humans? And then you start to tease out how to remove that friction. And then over time with the compounded learning, and again, we could probably create some agentic oversight to surface those patterns as well of friction and points that we can get ahead of it before it becomes a true bottleneck.
Excellent. As organizations move from owning platforms to trusting adaptable architecture, the shift isn't just technical. It's an inversion of the operating model as you've been describing. So how do CFOs plan to invest in agentic AI workflows that are much more fluid, because they're used to planning in annual cycles or planning for large capital investments? So how do they change their investment strategy?
I mean, this is critical, right? Because it always goes down to how to convince the board and the CFO of your funding decisions, of a path forward, and what is your appetite for ambiguity. So probably the first area would be give a year and say, this allocation of money is needed to test and hypothesize and recalibrate as needed. And the investment needed for agentic workflows to make a difference and demonstrate ROI is, we could count it in quarters. So I would recommend maybe year one to pick 2, 3, 4. We could never solve this messiness. Let's put agentic workflows on it and trust this investment. No matter what the outcome is, it's going to be a success, because I am 1,000% confident that some of those workflows are going to exceed expectations. Because again, I will go back to compounded contextual learning that is going on with agentic. This is not static code. I liken the code of past, where I spent most of my career. It was like a car, right? What did everyone say? Don't spend too much on a car, because the minute you drive it off a lot, it depreciates. What we're talking about in the agentic AI world is, think about it as a house or a stock that appreciates over time. It gets smarter. When it goes in market, that's the dumbest it's ever going to be, right? With the proper nurturing. So give everything the time to integrate into your organization and to be skeptical, but also be, this is pretty impressive. How do I even make it better?
Yep. So once you plant that seed, it starts to bloom over time as it gets more water, it gets more data, more information, and it learns. That's when it really starts to blossom for you. Excellent.
Absolutely. That's a great analogy.
So Lisa, you're essentially saying we need to stop building digital cathedrals and start building Lego sets. How does a leader convince their board to stop funding these massive multi-year migrations and instead fund a system that is designed to change every single month?
Yeah, well, so, I got to go to Italy for the first time like last year, and I was so impressed by the amount of cathedrals within a 5-mile radius. And there were some similarities between light and stained glass and when they were going to have their services and optimal sound. And it was all connected to some constant. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And that's basically how we have spent the last 100 years in building tech, oriented towards some constants. And I think we're no longer there. We're a little disoriented. So how we need to think about disorientation is taking off smaller bites, right? And trusting. It's almost like Christopher Columbus saying, like, I think the world is round, not flat. Let me go investigate. And some people were like, how could you, right? And I think we're at this inflection point of ambiguity is the new constant. And what will work for one company in developing kind of this North Star operating model with agents and humans working together and the fluidity and the learning, right, is not going to work for another. So we also have micro personalized, like to the individual organizations, best in class workflow. I mean, that's the opportunity. But the starting point is to say, I embrace this. The world is round. Let's go explore and let's go build things with our agents at our side.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is that tell the board that the market is full of uncertainty and that you don't foresee that changing anytime soon, that is the new world order, and that they need to embrace adaptable architectures that will allow you to have that flexibility to deal with the uncertainty that you can't predict right now.
Absolutely. It's almost like a new muscle training. They need some personal strength trainers to come in and build new muscle within the organization to orient to new ways of working, right? And new ways of communicating success and new ways of building board trust to say, not our ROI or our revenue, our stock price is the end state, but how strong are we today? How is our workforce growing and learning and taking advantage of the compounding growth opportunities?
Right. That creates organizational resiliency is what that's doing. So. Absolutely. Excellent. Well, it was a pleasure chatting with you today. I really appreciate your time and I look forward to future chats.
I would love that. Thank you, Michelle.
Take care.